City Kickboxing, you might have another guy. Now, training in Australia originally when he started in mixed martial arts, he's moved to New Zealand and has had a resurgence in his career. The former judo star for France now competes in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, taking on his third bout. We're going to take a look at Kevin Jousset's highlights for today's video.
Oh, till's out! It's over! It's over! It's over! That's what I'm saying, boy! Oh! He got dropped! It's over! It's over! Munoz! Oh my God!
With a background in judoka, starting in the sport at 4 years old, he earned himself a black belt in the discipline. He only actually started mixed martial arts 7 years ago, and Jousset came from the regional Australian MMA scene, training later on in his career at the illustrious City Kickboxing to develop his stand-up skills. The former Hex 2-weight world champion, he's competed and won gold in the middleweight division, but all else has been contested at welterweight. 5 years ago, Kevin would get his first title shot only 2 fights into his professional career. Standing across the cage, you may know him, Jack Della Maddalena. He was the defending champion at 6-2, and it was commentated by the one and only Alexander Volkanovski. Della Maddalena, known for his swarming forward style, would implement that strategy to overwhelm Kevin, dropping him, hurting him, and landing a takedown while using ground and pound for over 2 minutes for the first round. The second round would start and finish the same way, JDM swarming, getting the fight to the ground and landing big damage from there. The fight was ultimately called before the third round due to a doctor's stoppage from a cut above Jousset's eye, and JDM would make it to the UFC just 2 fights later. Kevin would go back to the drawing board to further develop in MMA, and he would make a significant move, going from Australia to New Zealand to train with the great fighters at City Kickboxing. This change of camps revitalized his career after the loss, and he went on a great run. He went 6-1, and in February of 2023, he was lined up for another title shot, this time in the middleweight division. For his second fight at 185 pounds, he'd take on an Australian fighter, and he would earn himself a decision victory and his first title for Hex. In his next fight, he would get another title opportunity, this time at his normal weight class of 170 pounds, and this time it would be against Kit Campbell. The striking would be back and forth, and Kit Campbell would land some big shots early, but it was Kevin Jousset's takedowns that really separated this fight, and he was able to land some damaging ground and pound. And then in the third round, on a huge takedown attempt, he would get Kit's back and punch his way to a TKO stoppage and his second world title in Hex. The mastermind behind City Kickboxing, Eugene Behrman, would be the one to give the news to Kevin that he would be signed to the UFC, skipping right over the Contender Series and getting on a UFC pay-per-view.
One quick announcement. Kevin, welcome to the UFC. He'll be fighting.
And on a pay-per-view main evented by his teammate Israel Adesanya nonetheless, and he would take on Kiefer Crosby to open up the prelims, and he would earn himself a flawless UFC debut. Crosby would have a lapse in judgment, trying to judo throw the judo black belt, and Jousset would take his back and secure an arm under the chin for a rear naked choke submission in the first round. This would put him on back-to-back finishes, and even more than that, finishing an opponent in the biggest spot of his career on a UFC pay-per-view in New Zealand with all of his family and team watching. The UFC gave him a massive jump off from his explosive debut to an 8-fight UFC veteran in Kenan, with fights against Ian Gary, dropping Ian Gary in that fight to display knockout power and some other showings for the organization, and Jousset got to put on display his striking that has beautifully developed at City Kickboxing from when he started in mixed martial arts all those years back. Strategy and breaking down opponents is the specialty of CK. Jousset recognized leg kicks were being a weapon that former Kenan opponents had a lot of success with, and he went to the leg early, landing 19 leg kicks in the first round, and it would pay dividends towards the back half of the fight over 15 minutes. Jousset's clinch fighting was nasty. He controlled Kenan's power hand and went to work with uppercuts, knees, elbows on the exit. The second round, he displayed head movement at range, and Kevin was caught by a right hand from a powerful Kenan and only really had a slight wobble at this point, showcasing not only that Jousset does have a chin, but that his leg kicks were having an impact on Kenan. At the end of the day, Jousset doubled Kenan in volume and took home a 30-27 wide unanimous decision against a fighter with significantly more UFC experience than himself. You can tell that the background in judoka and his time training at City Kickboxing has developed Kevin into an absolutely exceptional mixed martial artist with a ton of potential in UFC welterweight division. Let me know what you think the ceiling of Jousset is in the UFC. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.